The reason you keep ending up with emotionally unavailable men has nothing to do with the men. It's not bad luck. It's not that all the good men are taken. It's not that you're too successful or too picky or that it's too late. It's that nobody has ever taught you how to choose. I'm a doctor of clinical neuropsychology, and I spent 10 years as a psychologist in the United States Navy working with military families. And I kept seeing the same pattern, not just within the military, but everywhere. Women doing everything right by every standard society has given them, and they still end up alone or in the wrong relationships, or watching the same ending play out with a different man. Not because they're not enough, because they were using the wrong filter. I worked with a woman recently, a successful attorney, intelligent, accomplished by every measure. She could not figure out why every relationship ended up in the same way. We found the problem in about 20 minutes. It had nothing to do with the men she was choosing. It had everything to do with what she was using to choose them. That's what this video is about. And I want to tell you up front, one of the women who went through this work got married and now has a 7-month-old baby. That's the first baby born of the advice of this program. So this is real, but you're going to have to be willing to hear some things that are going to be a challenge to what you've been told. Let's talk about the equation. I want to start with something I discovered working as a psychologist with military families. I call it the happiness equation. The equation is H equals R minus I. Happiness equals reality minus ideal. What that means is simple. The bigger the gap is between your actual life and the life you think you should have, the unhappier you'll be. The closer your reality is to your ideal, the happier you'll be. Most of the women I worked with in the military were objectively good in situations. They had husbands, children, stability, yet they were miserable. Not because their reality was bad, but because their ideal was completely disconnected from their reality. And when I asked them where did this ideal come from, it came from society. It came from the message that women should be career-driven, competitive, climbing, achieving. And if she wasn't doing that, well, then something was missing. But here's what I noticed. The women who adjusted their ideal, who said, actually, I want to be a wife and a mother, and I'm going to stop measuring myself against what society says I should want. Those women became happier. Those relationships lasted. Women who clung to the societal ideal and kept measuring their real life against it, those relationships fell apart every time. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked them. Where did the ideal for your relationship come from? Because if it was given to you by society, there's a good chance it's working against you. So why did I build this program? This program was built because of what I watched happen to families. I spent 10 years working in the US Navy, working with families, and I kept seeing the same pattern. Women who were objectively in good situations, good husbands, children, stability, but deeply unhappy because the life they were living didn't match the ideal they'd been handed. Destroying relationships that didn't need to be destroyed. But it also became personal. When I got divorced, my ex-wife wanted, quote, something different. Every time I tried to understand what was missing, she couldn't tell me. She had an ideal that she couldn't even name. And so I became the scapegoat. The relationship my children had with both of their parents, the family as we knew it, that didn't just affect us. I had to watch and see what it did to my children. 50 to 60% of marriages in the United States end in divorce. I want to reduce that number. I want families built on something that lasts. That's why I built this program, not as a business, but a mission. Let's talk about the belief that's keeping you stuck. Here's the thing I hear most from women who come to me. There are no good men out there. I want to challenge that directly because in my experience, that's not true. The men are out there. The problem is the method you're using to find them is designed to find attraction, not compatibility. And those are two completely different things. Women have been taught through dating apps, through social media, through the way modern culture frames relationships, that feeling is the signal, that chemistry means connection, and that attraction means alignment. You were taught to choose with your feelings. The problem is that feelings are not a compatibility test, but the heart can lie to you. It can make you attracted to people and things that are not good for you. We've all been in that relationship. The one where you know this person isn't right for you, but they make you feel good in the moment. That is not a foundation for a lasting marriage. And yet society has made that the prerequisite. That's why the divorce rate is between 50 and 60%. Not because people stopped loving each other, but because their marriage was built on attraction, and attraction fades every single time, 100% of the time. The women who find the right man and build something that lasts aren't luckier than you. They're not more attractive than you. They're using a different filter. They're selecting for shared values, shared goals, shared beliefs, the things that actually hold a relationship together when the honeymoon phase ends and real life begins. That's the shift that this program makes, and it changes everything. Who is this for and who is it not for? I'll go further. Let me talk about who this is for. This is for women who have made a decision that they want something different. They want a traditional family, women who want to be a wife and a mother and who are done cycling through the same patterns and are genuinely ready to learn a different way. The best results come from women who are willing to recognize that the way they've been taught to date, the filter that they've been using, is not producing the outcome that they actually want, and that something different is possible. This is not for women who believe that wanting to be a wife and a mother is old-fashioned or limiting. I can't help with that framework, and I won't pretend that I can. There are other coaches out there for that path specifically. But if you want to build a family, keep watching. Why everything else fails. I know you've tried things, books, therapy, dating apps, podcasts, coaches who told you to know your worth and raise your standards. And now some of it helped, a little, but it didn't fix the root problem. And here's why. Most of what's available addresses the walls in the house, the floorboards, the coat of paint. It's not bad information, but it's not the foundation. And if you don't have a foundation, it doesn't matter how beautiful the walls are. The first rainstorm and the whole thing washes away. Therapy can help you understand your attachment styles. Books can teach you concepts, but none can address the cultural programming shaping what you're selecting before you're even conscious of it. The filter you've been using was handed to you, and until that filter changes, the pattern repeats. Let's talk about the old ways versus the new ways. Let me walk you through exactly what most women are doing and what that shift looks like. The old way. You open a dating app, scroll, make a decision in 3 seconds based on a picture and a bio. You swipe on that person who gives you that instant feeling. You go on a date, you feel the attraction peak, and then you watch it fade. You wonder what went wrong, and then you start all over again. That's like a fisherman throwing a giant net into the ocean and then sifting through whatever comes up. It's laborious, it's frustrating, it's designed to give you dopamine hits, not a husband. Every time you open a dating app, you have new matches, your brain gets a shot of dopamine. That is by design. These apps are built like slot machines. They want you to keep coming back, and your brain has been responding exactly the way it's been engineered to. The new way. Take attraction off the top, and you put values there instead. Not because attraction doesn't matter, it does, but attraction is like sand. You don't want to build a house atop of sand. The first rainstorm and it washes away. What I tell my clients is this: shared values are the bedrock. Shared values, shared beliefs, shared desires. That's the foundation on which you actually build a home. Not figuratively, literally. A home with a mother and a father and children. That's what the compatibility assessment in this program measures. Not whether he's exciting, whether your values are aligned, whether your vision is compatible for the future, whether there are red flags that you can't see because the attraction clouded your judgment. And what changes when you shift that filter? You stop wasting years on men who were never going to marry you. You start noticing men who you were filtering out before. The stable marriage-minded man who maybe didn't give you the immediate spark, but who would actually show up in the long term. The wife selection framework is built around one core principle: identify, attract, and commit to a marriage-minded man by leading with values instead of attraction. I call it the equity dynamic. Think of it like a business or investment. If you put $100 into a business and you only get back $50, you're going to stop investing. But if you get back $120, that's the business you want to be in. Relationships work in the same way, and here's what most women have never been taught. What men value in a relationship is not what women value. I've watched women list their accomplishments like a job resume. I make so much money, I have my own home, I built my career. Now, these are genuinely impressive, but that is not what a marriage-minded man is looking for in a wife. That's what a woman looks for in a man, but nobody has ever taught her the difference. When women understand what they genuinely bring to the table, that is when the caliber of men that they attract completely changes. The program assesses 5 things: your marriage readiness, your attachment style, your compatibility with potential partners, the red flags that you can't currently see, and your dating strategy. From these 5 assessments, you get a personalized roadmap, a clear picture of your patterns, your blind spots, and exactly what to change. That's not theory, that's precision. Let's talk about proof. Let me come back to that client who now has a 7-month-old baby. She was in her early to mid-20s when we started talking. She was caught between what she actually wanted, a family, a marriage, a committed partner, and the version of herself she felt she was supposed to be. Career-focused, independent, always striving for more. She was dating a genuinely great man, but kept telling herself she should be doing more before committing. We worked through the happiness equation. I kept asking her, what is actually wrong with your reality? And what it came down to was the same thing every time. Not that her life wasn't good, but that the ideal she was measuring herself against kept making her feel like wanting a family wasn't enough. Once she started questioning that ideal, once she asked herself honestly, is this career ambition actually going to make me happy? Or is this something I was told should make me happy? She answered the question for herself. She stopped letting that external pressure prevent her from building the life that she actually wanted. She married the man she was dating, and within a year they were pregnant. Now they have a 7-month-old. I have pictures of that baby, and I'll be honest with you, that is more motivating to me than anything I've accomplished professionally. That's the first baby born from the work of this program. I have a client right now, an attorney, sharp, driven. She spent her career building exactly the traits that she needs to be a successful lawyer or attorney. She's assertive, she's decisive, competitive, and she doesn't back down. Those traits are extraordinary in the courtroom. And they're working against her in every relationship she has tried to build. What I see consistently is that emotionally mature-minded men are not looking for relational competition. They want stability. They want a partnership built on trust. And when a woman cannot separate the traits that serve her in her career from the way she shows up in the relationship, that creates the dynamic that most serious men will eventually step away from. Nobody had ever told her that. She grew up being told that those were strengths across the board. She's working through it now and she understands the concept, and I'm confident that she's going to break her patterns. The stakes. I know a woman personally, a friend of my wife, who says regularly that she's not going to settle for anything less. And every time I hear her, I want to ask, less than what exactly? What is the thing that you're protecting that you believe settling would cost you? Because from the outside, what I see is a very headstrong, frustrated, inflexible woman whose traits, as genuine as they are not traits that attract a marriage-minded man. Emotionally mature men consistently report that what they want in a long-term partner is stability, trust, and a relationship that doesn't feel like constant competition. When a woman's entire relational posture is defensive and non-negotiable, that is not what builds lasting partnership. I'm not saying this to criticize her. Nobody has ever given her a different framework. And that script, however well-intentioned, is leaving her alone. Now, there's no shortage of sexual partners. That's not the problem. The problem is finding someone to grow old with, someone to sit on the back of the porch when you're 70, someone who you chose and chose you for all the right reasons, and who is still there decades later. Transformation. Here's what I see happen when women go through this program and do the work. External changes are obvious. Better men, more intentional dating, less wasted time, but the internal shift, that's what matters more. Women stop feeling like something is fundamentally wrong with them. They understand, maybe for the first time, that the problem was never them, it was the filter they were given. And that filter can be changed. They stop leading with what society has told them to offer, and they start showing up as the women they actually are. They stop chasing the feeling and start evaluating the foundation. They start recognizing the men they were filtering out before, the ones that didn't trigger that immediate rush, but who are actually capable of building a life with someone. And something quieter happens too. The anxiety starts to lift. The biological clock doesn't disappear, but it stops being the only sound in the room because they have a plan, a real one, not hope. They have a system. One client said it this way: for the first time in her life, she felt like she was choosing instead of chasing. That shift from chasing to choosing is what this program produces. What are your options? At this point, women I work with usually see things one of three ways. First is they keep trying what they've been doing. More apps, more dates, more hope that the next one will be different. You know how that's gone. The second is to work with a traditional therapist or read more books on attachment theory. And there's value in that. It's not nothing. But as I said, therapy addresses the walls of the house. It doesn't build the foundation. And if the foundation isn't there, the walls don't matter. The third is this program, a structured 90-day process that assesses your specific patterns and blind spots, builds a personalized roadmap, and gives you the framework to identify, attract, and commit to a marriage-minded man. a marriage-minded man who shares your values. Not generic advice, your psychology, your patterns, understood and rebuilt from the bottom up. The women who get married aren't the ones who waited for it to happen. They're the ones who stop leaving it to chance. Now, there are two things I hear. First one, I've already tried therapy and books and it didn't work. Why is this different? Why is this different? Because those approaches address your individual psychology without addressing the cultural programming that shaped it. Understanding your attachment style is useful, but if the filter you're using to choose men, the one that tells you what matters in a partner, that was handed to you by a culture working against the outcome that you want. Understanding your attachment style doesn't fix the selection criteria, but this program does. The second one, this sounds like it's going to tell me to lower my standards or settle. It's the opposite. This program raises your standards in the direction that actually matters. Right now, your standards are filtering for excitement and chemistry. You're going to end up with the right feelings and the wrong foundation. What this does is it redirects those standards towards what builds a lasting marriage. Shared values, shared vision, emotional maturity, and genuine commitment. That's not settling. That's selecting with precision instead of feelings. Now, if any of this had landed, if you've recognized your own pattern in what I've described today, the next step is simple. Every study on childhood outcomes points to the same conclusion. Two parents in the same home is the strongest predictor of long-term well-being for children. That's not politics, that's data. And women who want that life deserve a system that actually helps them build it. The men that you want are out there. You're just using a filter that is screening them out before you even know that they exist. I want you to be able to sit back on the porch when you're 70 with the person who chose you and who you chose for all the right reasons. Not because you got lucky, but because you finally learned how to choose. That's what this program is for, and it starts right here if you're ready.